he came to pick up the calves, my father, at the last day of the ploughing, and like ever since they came here, I think he's fell more and more in love with them every day, because like they're really easy managed. Like they thrive so well off grass. They've natural hardiness. They never have to be pulled. There's minimal work with them.
Hello and welcome to the Beef Edge, the Teagasc beef podcast, for all your latest news, information and advice for Irish beef farmers. I'm Catherine Egan, and as part of the Certified Irish Angus Schools Competition, which is organised in partnership with ABP Ireland and Kepak Group, it challenges students to rear 5 Irish Angus calves over 18 months while completing a research project. I'm joined by one of the 5 finalist schools, the Mercy Secondary School in Kilbeggan, County Westmeath, and the students Ellen Colton, Trása and Sinéad, Bracken, will discuss the competition and their journey to date. Trása, you're very welcome. Before we start, maybe give a background to how you decided to apply for the competition.
Well, back in transition year, myself and the girls, we were always close in transition year, and we knew that we wanted a challenge and we wanted to do something. And there was loads of competitions. We were looking at BT, we were looking at SciFest, but then we kind of decided we said, you know what, myself and Sinead are from a farming background, and Chloe and Mary were really, really eager to learn about farming. So we just said we'll enter the Certified Irish Angus Schools competition. So back in October, our teacher approached us and gave us a leaflet about it, and we kind of went home then that day after school together, and we discussed it, and we decided on our theme of sustainability, because it's really important for the future of Irish farming. And we were still looking at it today. We are really happy that we did pick that team, because the way everything's gone now, it's really important to try help farmers find more ways to be sustainable. So then after that, in November, we sent in an entry video, and we made the video out on myself and Sinead's farm here in Waffley. And in the video, we just talked about ag science in our school, our project, if we won the cause, what we do, and just kind of an introduction about ourselves. Then January, we went to an interview in the Mullingar Park Hotel. There we had Charles Smith, the manager of the Certified Irish Angus Producer Group. We had Owen Ryan from ABP and Maria Hester with Kepak, and they gave us a really nice interview, and they were really nice in it, and they just asked us questions just to kind of find out more about us. And luckily we got on well at the interview, and we travelled to Croke Park on April 1st, and that's where we were up against 34 other schools, and there we presented our projects to agri-industry experts. For example, there was people from Teagasc, Dovia Genetics, Kepak, ABP, and then we found out that we won then at the end of May, and then in September we went to Westmeath in Laois, where we got to pick up our calves, and we got to stay there for the 3 days, and now we're just rearing our calves, following our 5-point plan, and we're completing a research project as well.
Trása, you have an interest in farming from a young age, but rearing calves is a very different enterprise to what you're used to.
Yeah, so my father, he's a suckler and tillage farmer, and we always would rear cows, and we'd always have cows and calves, but I suppose we'd always be kind of like continentals. We'd have limousines and Charlies, and we'd have maybe a few Anguses, but kind of then from the day that he picked up the calves, he came to pick up the calves, my father, at the last day of the ploughing, and ever since they came here, I think he's fell more and more in love with them every day, because they're really easy managed. They thrive so well off grass. They've natural hardiness. They never have to be pulled. There's minimal work with them, and to just even whenever I'm looking out with him, he's a tillage farmer, and our cows, they're following our 5-point plan, and on our 5-point plan we have homegrown feed, and whenever during summer, we'll be looking at our calves out eating their grass, and then I'll be looking out at him cutting his barley, and I'll just know that straight away, that's the only thing that's going to be done, is that's going to be brought in, tipped in the shed and rolled and given straight to our calves. And it's just a really, really sustainable system, and it's showing us at home how easy things can be done, and you don't have to kind of overcomplicate things whenever you're trying to be sustainable. Just simple things like that, like buying local or our homegrown feed. And most farmers now in Ireland, they're part-time, and we do believe that they would suit any system in Ireland: dairy, beef, suckler. because like, you know, they've ease a calf and like you're not stressed with them. Like they're polled, they're natural hardy. You can outwinter them. There's loads of positive, really, really positive benefits if you do have Angus cattle on your farm. Whereas if you had another breed, which would require more work.
Sinead, the calves are also being reared on your home farm. Talk through what's happened with the calves since they arrived on the farm.
So whenever we attended the National Ploughing Championship in September in Rathniska in Laois, we finally got to meet our cows, and after spending the 3 days there, on the last day our host farmer, or my father, Colin Bracken, got to collect the cows and bring them home. So since the cows have been brought home, firstly we brought them home and we put them into an isolation pen for 10 days just to make sure they weren't mixed with any other cattle, and like, God forbid if they brought home any disease or anything like that, it wouldn't have been spread, but thank God they didn't. So then they were in an isolation pen, and then we put them into the grass-based grazing system, which is a rotation system to spare the amount of grass that the calves are eating, but also maximising their grass intake. And because of this, our calves are weighing in at an average of 480 kilos. And along with the grass, they're also getting a sustainable feed of homegrown barley and beans. We source the beans off a local tillage farmer and the barley off my father, which we are very grateful to have. And we also got a healthcare plan put in place for our calves. And because of this, our calves have always been so well-minded, and they'd be fecal, egg counted and vaccinated regularly just to ensure that there's no diseases or infections or anything there. So we've been quite happy with like how our calves are getting on so far. We've been very pleased.
That's great. They're performing very well. What advice have you for students that might be thinking of entering the competition?
What we would say to students who want to take part in the competition is just go at full heart like we did. Like, we just completely, like, this took over our whole TY, which we were so grateful for, because we were never bored or idle. And it was something so different because, like, you never really had heard of any other school kind of winning 5 calves up until now. And the amount of work that we've done and the amount of stuff that we've learned and the people that we've met as well has just been amazing. And we would recommend it to anyone at all, because our confidence has grown so much over the last 2 years. And we never would have believed you at the start of TY if you told us that we'd be presenting our project over in the European Parliament in Brussels. Like, it really just did take a turn, and it took the best turn, and we could never recommend it enough to anyone.
And in addition to going to the European Parliament, what skills have you developed as a result of being a finalist in the competition?
The confidence skills that we've gained, like before this, I think even in class giving a presentation mightn't have been as easy as it seems now. Like, stand up in front of people and telling them like your own ideas that like you came up with is very interesting as well. Like, to teach people like, look, we came up with this. And our communication skills, and even just communicating with people. Like, before this, we would have never imagined being on a podcast even like this. Like, this would just been mad to us all together. And just, we've grown so much closer as a group as well. Like, we were always best friends, like all 4 of us in the group. But just even from day one right through to now, like, we've never been as close as we were before.
And you mentioned there going to the European Parliament. The extent of the competition has gone far beyond the classroom.
Yes, it definitely has. Like, because whenever we started off the competition, obviously we done our videos and our interviews and all that, and even like they were enough, like travelling to our interviews, like never mind going to the European Parliament. Like, whenever we spent the 3 days over in Brussels, like, it was such an experience to get to meet such interesting people and get to talk to all the other groups about maybe their teams and their ideas and how their cows are doing. Like, it really was once in a lifetime.
And you're also been involved in one of the stands at the Tullamore show.
Yeah, we are. Teagasc Tullamore has invited us to Tullamore Agricultural Show this year, and we just think like it's such, like, to even get to, like, we got to make a video with Teagasc a few months back, and we just thought like that was amazing. But now that they have invited us back, we just think it's brilliant.
That's great, Sinead. And Mary, from a non-farming background, what advice have you for students that might be interested in getting involved in the programme?
Well, myself and Chloe are both from a non-farming background, but we both had a big interest. And like, when we saw the competition, and we knew we wanted to do it with the girls, because like their family farm, like, we really do appreciate like what they do. And once we like did the competition, we like had more of a passion than ever for farming. And we really just think that going with it with like a full heart and like put out even how crazy our ideas are, just keep doing, and you'll get way further than just sticking to the basics.
And what advice have you for students that might be considering getting involved?
Like, before this competition, I would have just thought like the farmers would have reared them, then brought them to a factory, and then it would end up on a shelf. But in this competition, like, we've learned that the farmers literally need to like put on like a health care plan, like make sure that their grass is up to the best standard to get the best output, like from the calf and the best finishing. And like then when we went over to Brussels, we found out more about like the retail kind of part instead of farming. And like we found out like with Certified Irish Angus that like they go through the triple guarantee. So they do like they visual checks, tasting checks, and they also do the testing of the ear, which like I would not have known that until I did this competition.
And what does the testing of the ear do?
So when they do the ear test and the visual checks and the tasting of it, like it makes sure that it's basically a DNA test and making sure that what people are buying is what they get.
That's great, Mary. And I suppose, when is the competition finishing up?
The cattle will be finished in November in our local Kepak, and then December we are going to be doing our final report, and then January we are doing our final interview, and then in the end of March we will be going up to Crow Park to see who is the winner out of the 5 finalists. But in between, like, we've many events planned. Like, we are going to the Tullamore show that we said, and we just have a few upcoming events that we've planned for in between.
Finally, before we finish up, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, we'd like to thank Teagasc for giving us the opportunity to be on here today, but also for inviting us to the Tullamore show. We hope to see all your listeners there, Catherine, at the Tullamore show. And on the day of the show, we have a raffle to raise vital funds for Crumlin's Children's Hospital in Dublin. And our first prize is a 9-month-old Angus bullock that has been reared here on myself and Sinead's farm.
That's great. We look forward to visiting you at the Teagasc stand at the Tullamore show. Thanks very much, girls, and the very best of luck with the rest of the competition.
Thanks very much, Catherine.
Thanks very much.
That's all for this week's episode, and my thanks to Trása, Mary and Sinéad for joining me on the show. You can catch up on all other shows and interviews from the Beef Edge podcast on the Teagasc website at teagasc.ie, or you can listen on Apple and Google Podcasts as well as Spotify. Don't forget to rate, review and subscribe so you never miss a show. For all other updates from our beef programme, keep an eye on our Twitter and Facebook pages. Until next time, I'm Catherine Egan, and thanks for listening.